What's up, guys? Today we are talking about the secrets to marital success. Secrets to marital success.
What up? What up? What up? It's your boy and girl. That was E.T.'s thing, right? Hey, welcome back to another edition of my Marriage is Dope podcast. I am your host, Shannon Austin, and I'm here with the most amazing co-host that one could ever possibly have. It is
Shirley Austin. What's up, guys?
What it do, little mama?
Thank you for being here with us.
Right. So we had some technical difficulties, and we're coming back to just really, set this thing off right. But I'm not telling that ET story again.
No.
I'm not doing that. But a long story short, we know that ET coined the phrase, if you want to have success as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful, right? And so as we deal with the challenging aspects of the people that contact us, and want to know how can I be successful and be married, and we believe that we have found this hidden secret that if there is one secret, this is the secret. Would you agree?
It is one of the secrets.
It is. It is one of the secrets. You think it's one of the secrets. I think it is the secret. I think that if you can find a way to accomplish this aspect of human interaction and human behavior, that you will have stratospheric success, not only in your marriage, in all of your other relationships, siblings, your children, at work.
Yes.
If you can find a way to do this, I believe that you'll be successful. So listen, y'all listen, you're on Instagram, you are on TikTok. We want you guys to stick with us as long as you can, but we want you to jump on over to YouTube, because that's where we're going to stay, especially for the Q&A segment that's going to be coming up. Ask Shannon and Shirley. That's the Q&A segment. So make sure that you at least tap in there. My Marriage is Dope podcast on YouTube. And we are live. So come on over, join us, subscribe, and tap in, especially if you have some questions. Because we're going to let y'all go, in a little bit, but still stay involved and stay joined into the conversation. So, we do this thing. I've done it live where we have somebody hold their arm up. And I got this from Ronnie, her godfather, Kwame Ronnie Vanderhorst. He did this to me. And Lord knows I thought that it was some sort of shenanigans, it was some sort of joke or something like that. But when he did it, it was like, oh my goodness, like this really is true. So the thing is, this is the exercise that we do, right? So my baby's gonna hold her arm up. She's gonna be So I say to the person, say I'm a good person, I'm a good person.
I'm a good person.
You're a good person, right? And then I say, don't let me push your hand down.
Right.
So then I do that. I'm a good person, I'm a good person. She holds her hand up, right? So relax. So then I say, okay, now nothing else changes. But now I say, the only thing that changes is the words that she's saying. And I say, I'm a bad person, I'm a bad person, I'm a bad person. We put the arm up, and then I say, you say it.
I'm a bad person.
And then I say, okay, hold your arm up. You're still supposed to try to keep your arm up. She can't keep her arm up.
I'm a bad person.
Right? So I just did it right there. It just briefly. Of course, I go, I'm real dramatic, so I get all into it, right? But there is this, in a simple exercise, all you're trying to do is keep your arm up. Yet, you say something positive, you have the strength and the capability to keep your arm up. Once you switch to saying something negative, she's not necessarily thinking something negative. She hadn't necessarily changed her thought. She hasn't been triggered. She hadn't gone into, but then you just change what you're saying. And then all of a sudden, the thing that you're trying to do, you can't do. And when it was done, when I saw it, he did it on 2 people. He did it on somebody, and then he asked for another volunteer. I went up and volunteered. I'm like, this is magic or something like that. He did it on me, and I was like, wait a minute, this. I believe that this is groundbreaking. So really, it's the words that are in my mouth that come out. Whether I think something negative or not, it's what I say. And so later on, I heard Shirley say the most amazing quote.
Which is from a poet.
It's a poet's quote. And she said, the quote was that words create worlds. Once again, mind blown. Because as Christians, we were raised to believe that God spoke the world into existence. Like, he used his words.
Yes.
He didn't think hard about it. I mean, God probably could have created it any kind of way. Just waved his hands and a world would have been here. But he spoke. And so then, as we're Christians. So as Christians, we have these kind of scriptural references. Life and death are in the power of the tongue.
Yeah.
Right? That's in Proverbs. It's Proverbs 18. James, I forget, is it James chapter 3? It talks about like the mouth being such a weapon. And it talks about a horse being bridled, like they chomp on a bridle that's in their mouth. And that guides the horse where you want the horse to go. So that lets you know how important, right?
And I want to break down that horse piece, right? Because we read that and we don't, some of us don't even understand what's really being said there. I took the boys, they were around 12, 13 years old, and we went to an event and there were horses there. And first time getting on a horse, I was scared to death, even though the horse is one of my favorite animals, but I had never actually, been on a horse, rode a horse. So the lady was explaining to me that up close, the horse, it looks massive, and it is massive, but you are in control of the horse. And she said, as long as you understand that the bit, the Bible talks about, it's in the most sensitive area of the mouth. So when you pull the reins, it will obey or else it will be in pain.
Oh, wow. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh.
So little me can control a big horse.
A big horse.
Right? Because of that bit.
Wow.
So now put it in its proper perspective when you read the word.
Right. So the mouth, it can be vicious.
It can be vicious.
Or it can be beautiful and amazing.
It can be, and it can be controlled with the right tools.
With the right tools. Wow.
And
so,
that
No, you go ahead.
But that's why when you said this is the most powerful secret, I know what you're saying and I'm with you. But if you were to ask me what is the one thing that you cannot live without, that as it pertains to life, period, I personally believe that there's no way for me to bridle my tongue without the power of the Holy Spirit.
Wow. You can't do it on your own.
On my own.
I'm cussing folks out.
On my own.
I'm cussing them the blank out. I'm cussing them out.
Let me tell you something. For real.
Bro, no, for real. I mean.
Because that pain rises up, and that ego and pride rises up, and that
need to protect.
Need to protect rises up.
Survival of the fittest rises up.
And it's not that, because you'll hear non-believers say, well, as humans, we act like we don't have any control. Like, and it's not about that. It really is just a mindset of who do I want to be? And so when I think about that and go to the root of who do I want to be and making sure that I'm pleasing to God, that helps me to stay in line to be the best version of myself.
Wow. Shout out to my hometown where I was born, Chicago. We got Chicago on YouTube in the chat. Sending love. I had to shout out Chicago, even though the football team is horrible.
Oh, okay.
Even though the football team is absolutely horrible. Anyway, Eagles, Eagles. That's a whole nother podcast.
Eagles.
That's a whole nother podcast, right? So I remember when we were at Jeremy's, Jeremy Anderson, shout out to our little bro, Jeremy. We were at Jeremy and Tracy's, one of their masterminds, right? The Next Level Speakers Academy Mastermind. And so we were there, and I remember a young lady speaking. And she was, this is when I was recovering from cancer. I think, yes, it was after my cancer treatment, right? And people were just speaking life, and the young lady had spoken. We were like kind of in a circle, and she had talked about how this experiment was done where people talked to apples, and they had two apples, similar apples. Let's call them Granny Smith apples. They had two apples, and one was put in an environment and spoken to positively. And then one was put into an environment and spoken to negatively. And the one that was spoken to negatively decomposed faster than the one that was spoken to positively. And she was talking about the fact that an apple is made up of primarily water, and water is responding to the vibration of the thought that becomes word, right? That comes forth. And so that, that thing, struck a nerve in me. And then I found the book on it called The Hidden Secrets in Water.
Yeah.
And this book talked in terms of vibration and frequency of positive speech and negative speech. And the guy, what he did was he took water and froze it, but during the freezing process, or however it was done, positive impulses, let's call them impulses, were given to a water droplet, and it formed a beautiful crystal, like real pretty. And then the negative impulse was given to another drop, and it created a distorted crystal or a distorted image. And so the whole book was about how our bodies are made up of primarily water. Our world is made up of primarily water.
Yeah.
And how we speak, how we speak individually, how we speak collectively affects this water. So if I take that now as a husband and I extrapolate that and just come up with a way of dealing with you, and I understand why Shirley has such a, I can get intense and aggressive, and she has a problem. So interesting. She has a problem when I take that tone with her. I might take that tone with somebody else. She's not as mad, but I
am still affected, though, aren't I?
You are.
When you do it with others,
right. Based off of this science, right? But when she definitely doesn't like it directed at her, right? So I have to work on that. That's one of the things that I need to work on as a husband, as a human. Because when I feel slighted, or when I feel like you're trying to get over, or when I feel in any particular kind of way, my tone intensifies. And that's no reason for my tone to intensify. Just because someone is doing something I don't like. Why wouldn't I remain the same, like even kill? Of course, you have room to have emotions and be sad or happy or even angry. But that doesn't mean I have to use a particular kind of tone. So this book really goes into how our tones and what we're saying affect the water that is inside of our individual human bodies. The water that we are drinking. We're drinking water here. If this water is affected and I'm putting it in my body. If it's affected in a negative way, then that's going to produce negativity in my body. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we have seen in our coaching practice over and over again is how people talk to each other. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The things that they say. Mm-hmm. And they might not be cussing each other. Mm-hmm. They might not be, that's the sarcasm, mm-hmm. right? The contempt. And we hear this repeated kind of over and over and over and over again. And it, based off of the science, because these are studies that this gentleman has done, mm-hmm. it is damaging.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how, like you said, plants and ice cubes and apples, fruit, and all of that can be damaged mm-hmm. through positive and negative. Like, mm-hmm. it will be affected. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then what makes us think a human with a brain who has emotions and feelings will not equally be affected? Mm. Not even equally, exponentially more affected through negative words and negative tones and negative attitudes. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And so, listen, this whole thing of what we say and how we say it to people, the weight of that is so much more than what people are giving it. We're not giving it enough attention in our relationships.
And let me say this. People feel justified. Mm-hmm. Let me speak for myself. Mm-hmm. When I take a particular tone with you, mm-hmm. I almost feel justified in that tone mm-hmm. because of whatever my perception of you doing something to me. Mm-hmm. I feel as though you're doing something to me. And so now I give myself license. I give myself carte blanche. Now, I'm not disrespectful from a standpoint of cussing you, mm-hmm. calling you names, mm-hmm. or anything of that nature. But my tone is something that you have expressed. Mm-hmm. I don't like that. Don't do that no more. Mm-hmm. I don't care how you feel. Mm-hmm. I don't care what's going on. I don't care what I've done. Don't do that thing, whatever that thing is.
And what you said is important because a lot of times, like, we'll look at major things and mm-hmm. think that should affect our spouse. Mm-hmm. Right? So yeah, you don't curse me out. You don't call me out my name. You don't do any of those disrespectful things. Mm-hmm. So in your mind, you may be weighing what you do to what you could be doing. Mm. And a lot of times that's what we do. Mm-hmm, right?
Mm-hmm. At least I ain't
doing this. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like, why are you tripping about this? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I mean, man, we're just not validating our spouse's heart about a particular situation. You do not have to agree with someone to mm-hmm. change a behavior. Mm-hmm. You do not have to agree with someone to, at least if nothing else, just step back and take a look at it and mm-hmm. be like, you know what? Let me make an adjustment. Mm-hmm. I was telling a young lady, she and I were talking about our marriage, and she just really had an issue because she felt like, I'm doing this and I'm doing, and we go through this thing. I'm doing everything I can. Mm-hmm. No, you're not. Mm. I promise you, 9 times out of 10, I know I'm not doing everything I can. I know there are some areas that I can step it up in. Mm-hmm. And I'm a doggone coach, mm-hmm. teaching people this stuff. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You understand? So, I told her, I said, you have to adopt the more mentality. You have to.
Explain the more mentality.
If you say to me, babe, man, we're not spending enough time together. And I'm like, okay, we had movie night the other night. We went out to eat, and then we had a coffee date yesterday. Mm. To me, I'm like, 3 days out of 7, like, we're doing good. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, I could take that stance. Mm-hmm. But instead, I am heavily working on taking the stance of, okay, Shirley, just do more. Just do more. Because the alternative is you and I get into an argument because I did not validate your feelings. Mm-hmm. I told you that it was enough and you're telling me you need more. Mm-hmm. So who am I to say for you that should be enough?
Right.
Even if for me it is enough.
Right.
But I'm not in this relationship for me. I'm in this relationship for you.
Right. Well, stop, pause, no. And keep your thought, but pause. That's just so important. It's so important because when we seek to date and we are not seeking to find someone to add value to. That's not what we're doing when we're dating.
We're trying to find
courting.
Someone.
We're trying to find someone who will meet my needs.
Us. Right. What can you do
the
for me?
The last thing that we're thinking about is what we can do for them. That's just like it comes along with it. Like, I bring this to the table. I bring this to the table. But what can you do for me? And it's like, yo, like we gotta check that.
Yes.
Because you can't be concerned about you and me at the same time.
It's not possible. Like, we all have a job to do.
Yes.
And we have to stay focused on our job. And I say this all the time. When you are in a marriage, your job is not to take care of you and protect your heart and make sure that's not your job.
Nope.
Your job is to take care of your spouse, protect your spouse's heart. When they have needs, you meet their needs. That's your job. Leave their job to them, which is to take care of you. But when you're trying to take care of you, you cannot effectively take care of the other person.
Not at all.
It's just not possible.
It's just not
possible. You're so bent on protecting yourself.
Well, let's highlight that with scripture. The Bible says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
Yeah.
You can't focus on you and me at the same time. That's double-minded.
Yes.
So what we coach and what we teach is that if she focuses on me and my needs and my heart, and I focus on her needs and her heart, then we both taken care of. There's nobody that is missing out on anything. And so this idea that we have to split our minds, it keeps us from being the most effective that we can be. Shout out on IG. We got a couple people over here buying badges. Jake Strickland.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys.
Oh my goodness. And then somebody else. I wanna Buck_OC bought a badge. I didn't want to. I don't know what a badge is. I didn't know what badges we could do something like that. But whatever that is.
But thank you.
But thank you anyway. Yep. And I want to add this question. Okay, no, that's a statement.
To the Q&A?
That's a statement to the Q&A. So shout out to Ask Shannon and Shirley Q&A coming up in about 10 minutes or 7 minutes to be exact. IG and TikTok, we're going to let y'all go in about 5 or 10 minutes. So make sure that you log off where you at live now. Jump on over to My Marriage is Dope podcast. When you get over here, do me a favor. Like, subscribe, and share. That helps all with the algorithm. The YouTube is growing. Shout out to YouTube subscribers. We are at 1,200 subscribers, babe.
Wow, that's good.
And we just getting going.
Yeah,
so just the very fact that people are stopping by, engaging.
Appreciate you guys.
So come on over. IG, you can log off now. It won't hurt my feelings because we're gonna log you off in about 5 minutes. I don't know. It's when the spirit hits me. That's when I say log off, right? So come over and join us. So go ahead. No,
I mean, it's this relationship thing is so interesting. We are so hell bent on getting our needs met, and many times we are laying heavy on our spouse to do something that we ourselves are not willing to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll hear somebody say, a woman is supposed to submit and, follow a man's leadership and do this and do that. Well, are you giving her a reason to submit? Are you being a leader? You know what I'm saying? Like, it is just this mentality that we have that is all about us.
You want to be honored and respected as a leader, but you're a horrible leader. But you're
a horrible leader. So yes,
you're a whack leader. We said it. You're a whack.
We should, do those things. And husbands, you're, providing and protecting, and not just financially, for your wife's heart. Those things should be done.
Listen, so so there's nothing wrong with submission. If you can remember that same Bible says submit yourself one to another.
Absolutely.
It doesn't just focus on the woman. It says there is a mutual submission that must take place.
Yes.
Because we got I'm trying not to go down a rabbit hole of why a woman was created, which we got to do a podcast on that. Where we talked about, remember last week when we were driving?
Yeah.
We were talking with one of our mentor-mentee couples, and we were just talking about the fact that, it's a misconception about a woman being a helpmeet. That's people do not get what the true meaning of that means and the implications that it has on a Christian's life. You might be Muslim, you might be Buddhist, you might be, Hebrew, Jewish, you might be atheist. We're Christian, and there is something that there's a misconception about who she is in my life. And we are going to definitely do an episode on that. I think it's going to be important.
Yeah, I want to address. Thank you so much, Hassan. Man, Hassan said, I'm guilty of speaking harsh to my wife. It's definitely difficult changing a 40-year habit. It is difficult. I'm not even going to lie. It is very difficult. But when you look at the benefits of what you're doing now, what can you tell me are the benefits of what you're doing now? The harshness, right? This is the thing, guys. Is it difficult? It is absolutely difficult being our best selves. Period. Hands down. It is not an easy thing. But is it worth it? What is it that you want out of your marriage? You can't say I want a good marriage, but it's too hard for me to change how I speak to her.
Well, here's something interesting. Brooke is saying in the comments that when he isn't taking care of me, she doesn't want to take care of him. So we get into these habits that Hassan and Brooke are in. Hassan is in a habit of speaking negatively to his spouse, and he's been doing it for a long time. So he has gotten into a habit of that. And it's easy to say, let's break that habit. And you ask the question, is this serving you? Is this something that is helping your marriage grow or not? And the tough thing is, when stuff affects our health, it's easy for us to change. But it's still, I used to be working in the hospital, and somebody would have a trach, the trach, the cut in it, and they would be holding a cigarette up to it. There would be people that it would be 10 degrees outside. They got their arm out of the door of the hospital. They're a patient. They got that because you can't smoke in the building. So they're trying to get that puff. So you got people that will literally do anything because they are so accustomed to doing things a particular way. And the question has to be asked, is that serving you?
Right.
How is that serving you?
We're accustomed to doing things a certain way, and we want to do what feels good to us. Right? And Hassan and Brooke, what both of you touched on, the cycle, right? I speak harshly to my wife, and it's difficult. And so then the wife is like, even though Brooke, you're not the wife, but that's the cycle. well, you keep doing this, I'm going to pull back. I don't want to give you what it is that you need from me because you're not focused on giving me what I need from you. That is the cycle. We cannot stand in these relationships and keep pounding what our spouse is not doing for us when you are not doing for your spouse. You just can't. And listen, this is the thing.
It's getting too good. We don't have to let them go.
I am of the belief that it does not matter what Shannon does. I need to show up. The reality is that is not always going to happen because sometimes it is just too painful to show up. Right? You're not getting what it is that you want from your spouse. You need to show up and just give your spouse what it is that they need from you.
Pause. Listen, IG and TikTok, we're going to have to let you go. Come on over to My Marriage is Dope podcast on YouTube. We are live there. My Marriage is Dope podcast. We are live there. And you can continue on the conversation and then jump into Q&A. Peace, IG and TikTok. The thought of what you're saying is just it's for me, it's mind blowing. For Brooke, I want to say, I don't know if you saw the part about, the effects of being able to speak life even when you don't want to. So you when he's not taking care of you, you don't want to take care of him. You need to fix your mind. And it might sound counterintuitive. This is something that causes you to have to be very, very vulnerable. You have to fix your mind to just take care of him regardless of what he's doing for you. And watch the culture change and what happens inside of your marriage. At some point, he is going to be like, you know something? I don't know. When will it happen? Go ahead.
I have a testimony.
Please
that
share
just
your testimony.
Sparked a testimony. So we have a couple that we have been mentoring. They just took us and we are very close with this couple. From the day that we met them, they just fell in love with us and we ended up falling in love with them, right? So it's been over a year now. We've been mentoring, hammering home certain principles, and sometimes it's like it's just fallen on just deaf ears, right? Now in this season of their life, they're really growing and really doing the work. Do you know what she said to me the other day, the wife?
What's she saying?
She said, I used to feel so sorry for you. So we would go visit them, right? They live in a different state, and we would go visit them and things of that nature. And she just saw how I just served Pop, and when he would say something, it could be off the wall. I don't get upset. I might say something sarcastic back or something like that, but I just keep it moving. And she just didn't experience like me having a certain attitude with you or snapping at you and things of that nature. She said to me, I used to feel so sorry for you. Like, man, like I love them, but I can't be that. She said, I get it now. She said, I started doing those things that you told me to do, and my whole life is changing.
Oh, wow.
I get it. She said, I wish I would have gotten it sooner. Listen, it is so important, y'all. I really want you to get this. Brooke, guys, I really want you to get this. You have to you have to adopt the mentality, because when you adopt the mentality, you won't do it 100% of the time. But if you don't adopt the mentality, you will 9 times out of 10 do it 90% of the time.
How many times?
90% of the time, and fail. Your marriage will fail because you will not be doing this 90% of the time. But if you adopt the mentality, 9 times out of 10, you'll hit the mark. You must adopt the mentality that it does not matter what your spouse does or does not do. Who your spouse chooses to be to you, that is between them and God. God is going to come to Shannon and say, what did you do to my daughter? How did you love my daughter? And God is going to come to Shirley and say, what did you do to my son? How did you love my son? God is not going to give me a high five for getting the attitude and spitting fire back at Shannon when he spit fire at me, and disrespecting Shannon when I feel disrespected, and hurt Shannon when I feel. It's not going to happen. I have to be accountable to me. And so I have adopted the mentality that it does not matter what you do. I'm going to show up as my best self. Because of that, it has drastically, and we both, I believe, have adopted that mentality. You have as well. We both, because of that, we have decreased so many arguments that could have happened. So many uncomfortable, unhealthy, damaging interactions that could have happened.
Yes, ma'am.
We already had that with that mentality.
Right.
So you have to adopt a certain mentality on how you are going to be in your marriage.
You have to decide.
You have to.
How you're going to show up.
You have to.
And how you're going to show up in your marriage, how you're going to show up in the world, how you're going to show up with your kids. There are some things that I wish that I would have never said to Jelani and Khalif. And I wasn't calling them out their name. I didn't, but just I got a harsh tone, y'all. Like just sometimes I could be hard, and all in the name of keeping it real and being honest and being straightforward and being a straight shooter. But I have to learn that I have to temper that. I can't just walk around just willy-nilly. It's like having a gun. You just don't pull it every time. Right? You have to have a certain level of responsibility when you do need it. Like there are going to be times that you're going to need me to be that. Let's say if there's something, you're being disrespected or outside the home or something that's happening and you need to be protected. You'll need that edge side of me. But when we're just home chilling and you ask me a question that I might not necessarily like, you don't need that. You don't need that. And so we got to learn how to navigate these spaces and understand that life and death is in the we cannot take that lightly. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. If we can just change that, like you said, there's a plethora of things that we can change we can see success in our marriage. But if we can just control our tongue and then begin to control our thoughts that feed our tongue, we will see our marriages improve exponentially.
And I want to, piggyback on what you were saying in the beginning. Words create worlds. And you said, what did you say? You said, if we can just try. Did you just say that?
I don't know. I'd be flowing. I don't know what I said.
What I want to say to you is you choose. It is a decision. You choose, right? Because how the brain works, try isn't even, there's no such thing as try in the first place.
You can't show us what try looks like.
Right? So the
you're
brain,
either doing it or you're not.
Or you're not. So the brain is like, well, I don't know how to try because try doesn't exist. That's why when people say, oh, I'm going to try to lose this weight, that's why people don't lose the weight. Oh, I'm going to try to kick this habit of smoking. That's why people don't kick the habit. Because there is no such thing as try. And so your brain, you actually give your brain an excuse to not do the thing.
Exactly.
You understand? So you have to make a decision. You have to decide,
you know what?
This is what I'm going to do. This is the principle I'm going to stand on. This is how I'm going to be. When this happens, this is the person I'm going to choose to be. Period.
No matter what's going on around me. Deepak Chopra wrote in his book, it's called 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. He talks about this thing called object referral and self-referral. And how self-referral means that if you're operating in self-referral, you only allow yourself to be to dictate what dictates your actions is what's going on inside of you. Object referral is what dictates your actions is happening around you, your environment. So if somebody else comes in and they sad, you sad. Right. If somebody comes in and they angry, you angry. And that not in an empathetic way, but in a very unhealthy way. Right. And this, you have to decide within yourself, I'm happy. Or I use this tone, or I'm not even going to allow anybody to disrupt my spirit in such a way that I would want to choose to speak negatively to them.
Yeah. And listen, we're married for life. Like I probably say this every episode, but I need to, right? We are married for life. Why do we want to not meet our spouse's needs?
Right.
Like, why?
And you got a whole lifetime to do it.
You have a whole lifetime. Like, it's just it's draining. It is so draining to ignore our spouse's needs. It is draining to you as the person because now you're the recipient of their hurt.
It's easy we throw around, in this society, we throw around the term narcissistic a lot. But just below narcissism is self-centeredness.
It's a lot of self-centeredness going on.
Right. And so people really become consumed with their world and what's going on with them. Yes. And it makes it difficult to even think outside of you.
Yes.
And so you expect the world to conform to what you need. Yeah. And you are unwilling to go through any kind of metamorphosis for the world. And I believe that the world is not here to serve us. We're here to serve the world.
And you're part of the world. And it is my job to serve you.
Come on. Let's get at it. A little applause.
So,
all right.
What's up, great people?
Bring them out.
Those questions are coming via the Q&A.
I want you to retype that. From this day forward, I will what? I want you to retype that. Words create worlds. Words create worlds.
I told them to bring them out, baby.
Woo! Bring them out.
The questions.
Joy.
The questions.
What's up, fam?
The questions.
Are we at the Q&A?
This
all right.
is the segment that you've been waiting for, that you probably tuned in for. Ask Shannon and Shirley. And we are about to jump into it right now. First question, little mama.
First question, okay.
Listen, before you ask that question, make sure that you guys are subscribed so you can get the bell notifications for this, especially for this segment, for these podcasts. Make sure you're commenting and sharing as well so that we can rise up that algorithm and let people know that something like this kind of information, if you're finding value in it, right? We don't want you to share it if it's not valuable to you. But if it is valuable to you, please comment, jump in the comments. Y'all are in the comments, subscribe, and most of all, share it with someone who you think might could benefit. Go ahead, little mama.
All right. Hey, Mr. Shannon and Miss Shirley. We love y'all so much and have been following you for a while. My husband and I are asking this question together. Hey, family. We truly love one another and definitely plan, as you say, to be in this for life. We do not want to make something an issue, but we also do not want to ignore it and it become an issue, so need your advice. We have been married 14 years, 2 kids, 4 dogs, and a very busy household. We realize we have not been putting as much into our marriage because we both are exhausted between careers, kids, and their activities, some recent deaths, and just life. We know life happens, but how do we not lose one another as life happens? Oh, great. I love the question. Thank you.
I mean, we were talking about that, right? It is very easy to allow life to get you lost. Kids, businesses, careers, school, family, illness. Like, so many different things can throw you off your square in your relationship. And you get into the parasympathetic aspect of life. The parasympathetic nervous system is a nervous system that you're just not aware of. It's the thing that keeps you from not being aware of your innards. Like you don't feel the weight of your heart, of your lungs, of your stomach, of your intestines. You don't feel that weight because of your parasympathetic nervous system. And so we switch into that emotionally. And we go into this autopilot, and we are not intentional about the life that we live with the person that's supposed to be the most important person to us. And so you have to, as you say, all the time, you have to be intentional.
You have to be
You
intentional.
must be intentional about the life that you live and how you make room for the person that is the most important person in your life.
And I'll say this, right? Because some people, they're like two ships in the night. I get it. So that's why I truly believe in quality over quantity. The time that you guys do have this together, make it the best. Right? Don't be like, oh, we tired, and then y'all sleep and you trying to catch up on rest. You're already trying to catch up on rest. So you might as well spend an extra hour together, reconnecting, continuing that intimacy bond, talking, sharing, then go to sleep, or whatever the case may be. Quality time for you guys, for busy people, quality time is key. It's not about the quantity. It is about the quality.
Quality. Very good question. Very good question.
My husband and his ex-wife had communication outside of the kids going on, and I was very uncomfortable with it. They had children, so I know that they communicate, but they will be texting at night about things that have nothing to do with the kids. After over a year of me dropping hits, I finally told him I don't like it and it needs to stop unless having to do with kids. He didn't agree, but he stopped. Well, 8 months later, I was going through his phone and I found that they never stopped talking. They slowed down, but after about the 4th month, it picked back up. What hurts more is she asked him, "What's your wife gonna say?" And his reply was, "She'll be all right." Now this man done gave this woman who he divorced more respect and power over me, and I am pissed. I addressed it, and he's upset at me for looking at his phone, and now I'm the bad guy. How can I get him to see I'm his priority, not her, and this is a form of dishonoring me?
Well,
that was a lot.
That was a lot, right? But the simple answer to her question is, she can't. This is a conclusion that he will have to come to on his own. Like she can share. She's done everything that she could possibly do. She shared her heart. Now, you shouldn't have been in his phone, but you were in his phone. You found what you found. You shared your heart, and now he's going to take, because he's not an evolved man, he is now going to take a defensive posture and try to deflect onto, well, why were you in my phone? Right? And so now I can't trust you. This is what we're doing now, all of that, right? Instead of addressing the issue.
Yes.
But the only thing that's going to make him address the issue is this inner voice. We call it the Holy Spirit, right? Other people, whatever your spiritual center is, you call it something different. Something will prick his heart and mind to let him know that he was wrong, one, and that the position that he has placed her in is absolutely the wrong position. And one of the things that can help that is if you continue serving. It sounds counterintuitive. I know it does. He disrespected me and you expect me to do blah, blah, blah. Yes, because after a while, the benefit of time is a beautiful thing.
That's the thing. After a while, yes, people
come around. And most often than not, divorces are happening because people did not have the
right.
patience
Yeah.
or the wherewithal
Yeah.
to wait around until somebody came around.
Yeah. And I want to go a little further and speak to those who are going to marry somebody, right? Because not that we can't help you, but I mean, you said you dropped hints. You shouldn't have dropped hints, right? So that's like a hindsight.
Hint is passive aggressive.
It's already happened,
right?
But I will say, moving forward, don't drop hints. Be direct, right? But just helping someone who may be in a relationship with someone who has children, I just encourage you to know all the details as much as possible. What is that relationship like with the mother or the father? Like details about it, not some old surface information about it, right? And you don't, and it's not just about asking them, watching the phone calls come in, how that's handled, if they're coming over to the house, like all of that. There's no way, he didn't just get married and they're talking all the time. You understand? So I would imagine that it was ignored. And then you started off wrong by, number one, ignoring that, but then you went a year dropping hints, right? So, I just encourage you, sis, to be honest about how you feel, have courage to speak your truth in the moment, in the right way. There's a whole, way to talk to somebody. You don't have to be ignorant about it or anything like that, but you do share your heart. You don't wait, because waiting, things don't get better. It actually gets worse.
It actually gets worse.
Right? So
you got to speak your truth, and you got to speak it with conviction. But people think that, we talked about this last week with conflict. This is conflict. And people think that argument or intense interactions have to be associated with conflict. And they don't. It doesn't have to be
really
that.
Doesn't.
You can have a calm, rational conversation and simply let, you've already let him know, but continue to let him know. And you have to leave the room for him to see. If he doesn't see, because this is what you want. You want not only a change of behavior, but you want a change of heart.
More than, yes.
Right? So if they stop talking, but he wants to talk to her, you still at a deficit.
Right, because he's now having a super, super attitude with you because you have disconnected him from one of the things that was important to him.
That's his salve.
Right.
Right. Wow, we jumped up to 22 viewers, man. This is great.
And the lady not gonna stop talking to him because, I hate to say it,
what?
Because as the other woman, she like, yeah, he talking to me. Yeah,
right.
He may have divorced me, but he's still talking to me.
Right.
Like that, you know what I'm saying? That
right.
pride right? And she's feeding that in him.
Right.
So she's not being combative. She's not being, because he's talking to her.
Right. But here's another thing. There was not, by all parties involved, there was not a conversation had.
Yes.
There was a lot
Almost
of talking
guaranteed.
that needed to happen.
Yes.
In this situation. In the beginning.
Yep.
Just because he divorced her did not mean that he didn't like her, was not friends with her. Like, what was going to be the nature and character of this relationship?
That's right.
And we don't think that there's anything wrong with opposite sex friendships as long as those things are kept in the proper context. There's above board dealing. There's clear understanding. So they share a life together and children. You would want them to not want to talk to each other. That feeds your ego. But what's the reality? And I don't think y'all sat down and had that conversation.
No, that is
because they probably never wanted to stop talking, be it about the kids or about each other. Yeah. They probably divorced because they were at their wits' end and didn't know what to do, and so they thought it best to part ways.
And some people get along better than
than
after
they did
divorce, and so you want to
exactly.
keep that going because there is that connection there.
Exactly. So we got to learn how to have the tough conversations.
Before,
way ahead of the game. way ahead before we get into these blended families and divorces and all these different things. We got to have the tough conversations. All right.
And if nothing else, let me say this: get a third party. If he'll talk to somebody, get somebody for you guys to talk to.
Like, listen, if y'all are getting tons of value from this, make sure right in this moment, y'all make sure that you all are sharing this. Just take a time, pause, share it, drop it to a couple of 2-3 people that's and tell them, hey, you need to. It's somebody you know in your life that needs this information.
This is so funny.
I guarantee that.
This one question is what today was about. This individual said, y'all are forever our coaches in our head. Simple question. What's one tool you choose for marriages that we absolutely need and why? Well,
we talked about that for the last hour.
So there you go. Yep.
You gotta create a positive environment. Positive and positive words need to come out your mouth.
And reciprocity is key. What you want for yourself, you should want that for your spouse.
And listen, if you disgruntled and you are in a stressed and challenging marriage, the last thing you want to do is speak negatively about your spouse to any other human being. Your girls, someone of the opposite sex, your guys, someone of the opposite sex, your parents. You do not want to get into the habit of speaking negatively, because that we see the science of the fact that that's going to affect the nature, the environment, what they call in psychology, the milieu, the environment. I guarantee you, is going to affect the environment, and you do not want that. And you're in control of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Is there one more?
It's 2 more.
Okay, get down.
Every year we go on vacation and we alternate where we want to go. I choose different places, but my wife chooses the same place or something very close to it. Will it be fair for me to ask her to change it up? I'm about sick of it. This isn't a deal breaker or anything, but why can't she choose places we could be exploring?
That's because her name is Shannon Austin. That's me.
That is Shannon Austin.
I am a creature of habit.
Yes.
And
he doesn't want to explore.
I just don't want to explore. Oh my goodness.
I hope you're on here hearing this, because this is for real.
I don't want to explore, but I'm learning to explore a little bit.
And I do.
And that's all she wants to do is explore. I could eat at the same restaurant for lunch and dinner.
Yep.
And before I took a vow against McDonald's, I could eat McDonald's every morning for breakfast.
Mercy.
But that's who I am, and that's how I want. So no, it is absolutely fair for you to request something different, and just prod her, and even though she is set in her ways and she's comfortable with the same thing, just let her know how important it is for you to want to experience new things with her. And if she sounds like she's a good girl. She sounds like she's a decent woman.
I have a difference of opinion.
What? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, completely difference of opinion.
He shouldn't share?
Says, no, she already knows. She likes what she likes. For 28 years, I've been going to Houston. Right. And we're not stopping going to Houston.
But we go to
and
other stuff.
There are places that I want to go that we have yet to go to because you don't want to go there.
Wait, stop.
No.
Pause. So let me say this. If you ask me, I want to go thus and so place, then I'm going to go where you want to go. If you leave it up to me, I'm choosing Houston's all day, every day.
Let me say this. If I do want to go someplace, Shannon, I don't want to say that's not a problem, but Shannon will go.
Yeah.
But it's a problem for me because I have to go through what's on the menu? Well, I don't know. I don't know if they have.
Well,
don't nobody want to go through all that.
That's a part of it.
Well, don't nobody want to go through all that, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm just saying.
So I just say, okay, let's go.
I feel like it is just easier for me to just submit and
What if I have a horrible experience? Will that bother you?
If you have a horrible experience.
Yeah, we go, let's say we go to...
No, it won't bother me at all.
It won't bother you?
It won't bother me because that happens. When you go out to eat, sometimes you have horrible experiences. Mm-hmm. Right? So I've been to restaurants where I'm like, oh, I want to go to this restaurant. Oh my gosh. On my bucket list. Listen, I'm a bucket list girl when it comes to food, y'all. Okay? So I've been to restaurants and I was like, dang, it did not live up to the hype that I saw on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And guess what?
What?
I just go to the next restaurant. It's a horrible experience. So what? But it's an experience. I would have never known if I did not go, right? So to this gentleman, you heard his advice, and this is my advice. He said every year we go on vacation and we alternate where we want to go. When it's your time, you choose where you want to go. And when it's her, because she needs to relax too. Mm-hmm. She choose where she wants to go, and you go with a smile on your face and in your heart, and you enjoy it, period. And if she wants to just chill and lay on the beach and you want to explore, go and explore. Like, we have to, and that's why, now sometimes I'll be like, babe, come on now, I do not want to go to Houston's.
Oh my goodness.
But this is how I treat you though. There are things that you want to do and I'm just like, we have to do this one more again. One more. But that's who you are.
Oh, man.
And I have to leave it up to you to understand who I am and that I want to explore and experience, and for you to come out and say, like the thing we're going to Saturday night. I kind of push that in a nice way because I really want to go and you do not, and you made it known you did not want to go. And so what I did, y'all, I sent him the link and I said, I really want to go to this. And he purchased the tickets. So I appreciate you that you're doing something that I know you do not want to go to. Mm-hmm. But that's what we have to do. Look at it. He's dreading it already. He's sitting there like...
Right? Because, like, for example, I don't like sympathy sex. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have sex with Shirley unless she wants to have sex with me. Mm-hmm. If she doesn't want to have sex with me and she's doing it out of an obligation or just doing it because I want to do it, I don't want to do that. I just don't. I don't want to do it.
But you know what you do want to do?
What?
You do want to go to Houston's, and after 28 years, I want to go to different restaurants.
Right. So when right.
So you pick and choose. You pick and choose.
What you mean?
Because you said, I don't want to have sympathy sex. I just don't. And you don't. But we done been to Houston's all these years. And guess where I want to go eat? I want to go to Houston's.
But you love Houston's.
I do love Houston's.
Don't you?
I love the vibe of Houston's.
You love the
food. Their menu is very minimal, and that I don't like that. Mm-hmm. But I love
it's minimal and predictable.
It's minimal, and that's what he likes. Mr. Vacation Guy, it's predictable. That's what your wife likes.
You know what you're going to get.
You know what you're going to get. Now, we had this other question.
Yes.
Somebody sent us, and listen, promise y'all, I didn't even listen to it. She said, I don't know if she want me to say it. I won't say her name, but I'd be interested in hearing y'all tackle this.
So after I cheated on my husband, I gave him a hall pass. But here's the reason why I did that. Is because I didn't want to take the responsibility of getting rid of all demons that I opened up my marriage to. And usually this is what people do when they cheat. They want their spouse to cheat on them back, so it would give them a reason to feel better in some way. But let me tell you, that's the wrong way to do it. It's the wrong way to go about it, because at the end of the day, you make matters worse.
And even though I knew that option was put forth in front of me, I knew that wasn't the right choice.
Yeah.
That's not the way that we try to rebuild a marriage. If you want to stay in a marriage that's still on a downfall and just ride it out downhill, that's up to you if you want to make that choice. But I was not about to make that same choice if I know I also have another option of getting back in the face of God, praying for my marriage, praying for my wife, and trying to do the things and correct the wrongs that we had that led us into that position.
So after I cheated on my husband.
So do you understand? She said she wanted our take on it. I guess should we give?
That's a good take. One, we shouldn't give hall passes.
That
doesn't
that was interesting.
help
Yeah.
a situation. But I think that couple handled that very maturely. Like, one, he didn't take the hall pass.
Yes.
And two, she realized what she was doing, and she basically sounded like she rescinded the hall pass and was like, no, I'm going to sit in this. Mm-hmm. I'm going to sit in this hurt. I'm going to sit in this pain. Mm-hmm. And
because that was
the
like
hurt
her,
that I caused.
right.
And
ride
it out.
That was like her way of saying, I hurt you, so you hurt me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But really what that is, and subconsciously, we don't want to be the only one doing dirt. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. And so, but I'm so, man, the young guy and they're young, mm-hmm. for him to be like, no, that's not how we're going to work through this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Listen, as somebody who has cheated, I am letting you know that is not the way to go. It is not the way to go to cheat on your spouse. Nobody wins. And whatever feel good you're feeling in the moment, it is only for a moment. But the pain, it lasts for years.
Let's grab one of these questions from the chat. Someone says, Lydia says, what do you do when you are the giver and the submissive one, but your spouse is the taker?
Is that a continuation of her question?
When you are the giver and the submissive one, but your spouse is the taker. Respond to that, and then I'll look to see if that's a follow-up.
What do you do when you are the submissive one
and the giver, and your spouse is the taker?
So Lydia, when you say taker, so he never, like, what percentage does he give? I'm sure, I don't know how long you guys have been married, but I'm sure you've communicated with him. If you can.
I mean, we have to assume. We have to make that assumption. But just answer the question. Just take the question for face value.
Yes, sir. Because I'm thinking. I'm processing.
Well, I'm scrolling to see what other questions we can tackle before we let the good people go. But yeah, I mean that oftentimes is the space, and hopefully you will have married a man that is willing to see what your needs are and be wanting to meet them.
Which it sounds like she's not. And
she also might not be the person that asks. She might be very much like you, a high S, and it's just y'all are really focused on giving, and very few people oftentimes are focused mm-hmm. on making sure your needs are met. Remember, I fuss at you all the time. Like, why is this happening? Why this person is doing this to you? Or why are you always the one that's initiating? Because sometimes that's how people are wired. But she has to share her heart and make her feelings known.
That's what I was wondering if that was a continuation, which it is. She says she's been asking for years, and he brushes me off. So it sounds like he has a challenge with communicating. Mm-hmm. No,
not just communication. He's mm-hmm. selfish.
Mm-hmm.
He's a selfish person. Mm-hmm. Let me come out of this. He's a selfish mm-hmm. person, and we were about to let y'all go, but now we got some questions that are just and I don't want to just leave people hanging with questions. Mm-hmm. But he sounds like a person that is selfish, self-centered. Mm-hmm. We talked about some of that, and you have to continue being you. Like, so don't change for anybody, but you have to allow time to help with this process. But you also have to, we talked about it earlier, speaking your heart and your truth. You have to share that, and I advise you to get into some sort of therapeutic environment immediately. Because if there's no accountability, if you don't have a church marriage group, a coach, a therapist, mentor and mentee couples, then there's nobody to tell him, to call him on his BS.
Yeah. And you have to let him know, hey, this is not working for me and something needs to be done. And present options. We could go to whatever group. We can go talk to the pastor. We can find a therapist. But we can't keep going on like this. And this is not working for me.
Something has to change.
Something has to change. Because listen, I wish there was a magic wand, right? And we had an answer that would change everything. But your question was, what can you do? The only thing you could do is continue being the wife that God has called you to be. Because you can't change. He has to make that decision. Right? So as far as conversation-wise, I'm sure you had the conversation till you're blue in the face. But that's why I'm saying you just need to go to him and say, we can't keep going like this. I will not keep going like this. Something's got to change. And we need to get into, whatever, therapy.
And that's not a threat for a divorce or anything like that.
Right.
But it's just like something's got to change.
Right.
And you got to stand on that.
And there's so many variables, right? Like, are there any positive males in his life? Like, what type of man is he? You know what I'm saying? Like, is he holistically a good man? Because sometimes some of the things we say, it doesn't matter if you don't have a good man. So
it'll fall on deaf ears.
It will fall on deaf ears.
It'll fall on deaf ears. We have a question from the Graced Stewart. Do you believe God has a special person for someone to marry? Or does he allow us to make the decisions/agreements on who we choose to marry? I listened to a few relationship marriage podcasts where the advice is sometimes don't marry him or her for some of the same reasons the podcast host have overcome successfully before and during marriage. I get that. So I personally, Shirley might disagree with me and have a totally different point of view. I don't think that there is any one person for anybody. I believe that God will work with whatever you give. Now, that doesn't mean you should be reckless. That's why dating is important. That's why courtship is important. That's why it's important to have, be around people that you care about that can evaluate interactions, things of that nature. That's why it's important to see them around their parents, especially around their mother, things of that nature. But I just, what happens if your person dies? What happens if your person chooses somebody else? Then you're supposed to be alone for the rest of your life. So I don't believe that there is any one person. I believe that God will work with what you give him. He is the consummate extemporaneous God. He will, on the fly, work with whatever it is that you present to him. Of course, he wants you to come and seek him first. But even when we move outside of him, once you are in, what I believe, once you are in the marriage relationship, it creates the potential for miracles to happen. And you have to be open to God performing those miracles. And so, like Shirley and I, you would say, don't get with somebody that's done this, and that. And we have overcome some things. So that doesn't mean we shouldn't have never got married. When I look at her and how she is in my life, it's like, even though I would not have chosen her at first, like we both were like not each other's type and all these other things, but I'm so glad that I married this woman because she has helped to complete my life in a way that somebody else could not have.
I agree.
That's all you got for it?
No, I do. I actually do. I used to not agree. I used to not agree, right? But that was my, we're going to be together for life and I don't want you to think about somebody else. But that was an insecurity response.
The Grace Stewart, you can follow us on Instagram to submit any future questions, or of course join us here on the podcast and we make it a point to answer questions. the secret to the Q&A segment, Ask Shannon and Shirley, is I don't ever know the questions. So when they appear here in the chat, or when Shirley knows the questions, but I don't know the questions. So I don't like knowing, so I don't have a formulated answer in my head or whatever. So, and then the 10 things you should know about a man before marrying him. That, if you look in the chat, there is an ebook called called Wife You ebook, written by yours truly, Coach Cheryl. Come on, give it up. All right, Coach Cheryl, written by, and in there, if you do A through D, you're gonna be good, right? But if you can find a way to do A through Z plus the bonus, ooh, you're gonna be a bad chick. You're gonna be super bad, and people will be clamoring over you because what she outlined in Wife You. Is when I was doing the editing, it was just like, wow. And I saw her evolution as a woman. And any man would be very, very happy to be with a woman who presents herself in a marriage, in a relationship based off of those 22 or 23 principles. So I would advise you, this is not a sales pitch. I'm literally saying, I would advise you to get that ebook. The link is right there, pinned in the comment section, and go to our website at marriageinc.us, and you can get the ebook, and it'll be downloaded right to your device.
Well, did Sony's place, was that a full question or was that a statement? I love my fiance. Thank you for subscribing, Sony's place. I love my fiance of 2 years.
Of 2 years. My fiance loves me right back. However, we do argue fairly.
We don't argue fairly.
We don't argue fairly. Listen, the lack of the ability, that's a communication, that's centered around communication, arguing fairly. And there's a lot that could be said about that. And we're going to do it, yeah. We're going to do something on that. So we've already done something on that in our Marriage Masterclass. Once again, stay connected. Go to the website. A lot of that question can be answered, how to deal with folks when they don't argue fairly. That's a communication issue. And there's much to be said about that. We gotta go though. We have to say goodbye. But you guys make sure you stay connected.
To say goodbye.
Sing, girl. Stay connected to us everywhere. Subscribe and make sure you hit the bell notification so that you can know when we are going live for a live version of our podcast. And then go to the website and make sure you sign up for the next master class series that is coming soon.
It is coming soon. So I'm excited about that. It's going to
be some good stuff happening there. Listen, once again, this has been my Marriage is Dope podcast. I have been your host, Shannon Austin, and my co-host is
Shirley Austin. Love your spouse well.
Big Cheryl in the building.
Focus on their heart.
Focus on their heart. The secret to marriage success.
That's what God wants you to do.
Peace.